Welcome back. Today we're going to be fixing and repairing a fender for a 2006 Honda Pilot. Let's check it out. Here we have this Honda Pilot. Had a little accident. Fender was pretty messed up. They got the bumper held back up enough to get it here, and the headlight still works, even though we'll try to find one to source out in the future. But had some damage back in this area, and was able to mostly pull it back out with a ratchet strap and a tree, I think it was, with a come along. We'll have to take this back down, but it's just kind of up in there for now. We'll get that in the fender when we're done. Mostly the inside, there's not any damage done to the structure of it, not any damage done to the driving mechanisms or anything. Let's go check out what we got to work with. Today at the junkyard, we were able to source a new fender liner, the foam that goes behind the fender itself, new mud flap, and the little corner piece that goes up by the mirror. Got all the hardware, so everything there should be copacetic whenever we get it all put back together. And here's the fender that we sourced. It's off a 2006 Honda Pilot. We're going to sand it. We're going to use this orbital sander. Got a grinder here in case we have a little bit of surface rust here or there that we need to attend to. A couple various grit sandpaper. I think we've got an 80 grit on it, and got a 120 and a 220 here. We'll use to smooth it off before we hit it with some paint. I'm gonna pull out what we can on those, but this is a pretty good looking fender overall. Not much damage that I can see to it at all here. So let's get it cleaned up and get to sanding. Doesn't look too bad for first go around there. I'm gonna wipe it off with a rag real quick and put on a slightly less abrasive sandpaper and hit it up for round two. So that was the 120 or the 80 grit. We've got 120 on here now, and I'm gonna let my apprentice take the next one. So we're running out of some sunlight tonight. We're gonna have to resume this tomorrow, but got to this point. Most of the clear coat is removed, and still got a little bit of area there and some of these sharper corners. I'm gonna go back and touch up in the morning. Not trying to really get all the paint off of it. The paint's gonna be pretty good. Paint's pretty stout on there. The primer's pretty good, but that clear coat we need to remove, and I'm gonna reprime it tomorrow. We've still got a good bit of sanding left to do, so we will. Here's what it looks like with just the first run. So really just take your time with this, and if you're going across it and you have any doubts, just slow down, alternate your speed that you're running your sander with, and you know, watch how much pressure you put on it. Too much pressure will eat through it real fast, and not enough pressure won't take hardly any off at all. And you don't want to move back and forth real fast with it. If you move back and forth really fast with it, you're going to leave these little half moon swirls all over it, and those become a pain to get out. If you leave them there and you go and prime it, you'll end up seeing them possibly. So just take your time. Day 2 of sanding, and it's coming along pretty well. Using 120 grit sandpaper on the orbital wheel. Got it almost down to bare metal. Prep for primer. Got this top ledge to go right here. A little bit there. And a little at the bottom. But that's going to be hidden, so I'm not too worried about that. Alright, sanding is done. I would say that was about three and a half hours of sanding to get all of the original paint off and down to bare metal. Doesn't look too bad. Knocked out a couple of small dents along the way, and Cleared up a little area of surface rust that was next to the turn signal hole there. So now we've got some paint from any local hardware or any local store like AutoZone or O'Reilly's. We're gonna use this 1K primer. Never used this before. I got 2 cans of this. Now, they were out of Galaxy Silver, which is the closest thing that I could find in the Honda section to it. It should be actually exactly what it is. It just cross matches a different name. And I got Alabaster Silver from GM. They look almost identical. I'm gonna lay the Alabaster Silver down as the base, and we'll finish off with this on top. And then I got 2 cans of clear. Shouldn't need both of those cans, but just in case, I don't want to have to make another trip to the store. One thing I like to do whenever painting, I like to start with all the weird edges. So start with the lip down here, and this inner area here, and go along the top up here, and start with that, because you can always smooth out in the middle whenever you're done. But that way you don't forget around about the sharp edges, and if you have any overspray, the overspray is already on the center, and then you can just clear it up later whenever you're done with the final base coat run. Moving on to phase 2, we've got the Duplicolor Perfect Match paint, and we're going to lay down our first coat of 3 on the primer. Well, it worked, but unfortunately this can is one of those few cans that you get sometimes where it drips a little bit. So when we're done, we're gonna have to wet sand some, and hopefully we can get that fixed up a little bit. It's not too bad, but there is 2 or 3 drips in it that I'm not too pleased about. Oh well, you'll have that. So we're going to use some 1500 grit sandpaper. We're going to knock these 3 little bumps down right here. Smudge right there. Alright, those feel much better now. Well, we gave it one last little wipe down, and these are very smooth. You can still see them right now, but I believe after we drop the next coat on it, it will all but disappear. This one down here is pretty smooth too now. Can't even feel it, even though you might be able to see it a little bit. All right, let's get this last coat laid down before clear. So here we've got the Raptor 1K Pro Enamel. Never used this before, but it's got a decent looking spray head in it. Let's hope for no drips this time. Not a fan of that perfect match. The last few cans of perfect match I've used have all had drips in them. So just to forewarn, if you guys use that, might want to find a different type of paint match for your car or your panel. The perfect match seems to have something different where you can adjust the nozzle, and the nozzle adjustment allows it to, I don't know if you can see this, but it seeps out all through in there. And that is not good for trying to lay down a good coat of paint, make it nice and smooth. I was able to smooth it out some and use that 1500 grit sandpaper again, and it looks a lot better. So let's get to clearing. Gotta say, this thing has a really nice spray nozzle on it. I do recommend the Raptor brand 1K Pro Enamel. It seems to flow very well and left a nice coat. So we'll let this dry for a minute, hit it with a second coat, possibly a third. We'll see what it looks like after the next one. See you then. Okay, so we got the fender hung up on here. We're gonna have to put this bolt and this bolt back in, and in doing that, you can tell they don't line up. So we're gonna have to get one of them in, and then from the back side, we'll come down here and we'll pull this bracket around and we'll make it fit. So we've got two more bolts. We've got one up here, just behind the door. We got one down here. Hit it. So these holes did not match up with the frame holes. They were about 2 inches off because the frame was pushed that way from where it needed to be. So I'm taking the jack out of the trunk and put it against the tire, put it against that, because I don't have a come along. So we're just gonna push it back into place until all those holes match up. We've already moved it about 1 inch or so, but it's hard to film in here. So we'll resume whenever it gets back to the bolt. All right, just thought I'd let y'all know that little trick. Pretty cool little trick, huh? So down in here, there is 2 bolts right there and one on the bottom, and it holds this bracket in place right here that holds your front bumper in place. This whole frame rail was bent, so I beat it as much as I could, and that's as close as we could get it. We are missing the little plastic piece that connects all of this behind it. We're just gonna halfway it for now until we can find some more, but it's in there and it's as good as it's gonna get. So you got to just make sure that those little clips down there, your bumper goes into those, and that's pretty much that. Next, we're going to worry about putting the fender liner in. Fender liner. All right, so we ended up getting the fender back on, and for the most part, and there's still a little bit of gap, but you know, for the excessive bending we used to have a gap this big, and I was able to close it up to 1/4 of an inch. The inside, we need a few more clips in here. We've got the main ones around the outside. We need the inner clips. I think I got 5 of them that I need to get, and then we can go and put the mud flap back on. Once the mud flap's on there and I get the clips on it, it should be good to go. All in all though, doesn't look half bad, would you say? Alright. Not bad for some spray cans in a driveway, pulling the frame and fixing a busted up car. Looks a lot better than it did, and basically we just want this to be able to pass an inspection and turn around and sell it. There, with the headlight back in, it's a tight fit, but it fits and it's pretty dang close. You know what? I give that a thumbs up. Alright folks, you know what to do. If this was a helpful video to you, please thumbs up, give me a like, give me a subscribe. Love to see you back on my channel again, and you never know what we'll be into next time. Alright, but for now, have a good day, and peace be the journey, guys.